Water, earth, fire, air. Are kept balanced between the Water Tribes, Earth Kingdom, Fire Nation, and Air Nomads. But that all changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Good morning and welcome to Damarion's channel. Today we will be doing an ideological analysis of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Despite the two being children's media, they both portray, or in the case of Korra, attempt to portray, themes such as war, imperialism, etc. The problem is that the authors are largely unable to imagine any real change to any institution. At best, there is reform and getting rid of the bad man, after which everyone lives happily ever after. This is quite arguably excusable for the former, but not so much to the latter, which seems to pride itself in its supposed maturity and ability to tackle such subjects. Today, I will be spending far too much time and effort cutting knife deep into this nothing burger. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor, Ginger Cola. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. Are you tired of the same old sodas? Craving something with a little more zing and a dash of spice? Look no further than Ginger Cola. Introducing the soda that's bold, refreshing, and unapologetically spicy. Ginger Cola is not your average taste. It has a flavor explosion that will wake up your taste buds faster than the morning alarm clock. Ginger Cola is 100% naturally flavored soda with real sugar. Now back to our show. In Season 3 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, we're introduced to the Earth Kingdom, what's supposedly an absolute monarchy ruled by the Earth King in the capital, Ba Sing Se. But due to the sheer size of the country, as well as the ongoing war, the king's power fails to extend beyond the city walls. Even then, the government is effectively controlled by the Dai Li, a secret police organization that keeps order in the intersections of the city. They're known to disappear dissidents as well as anyone critical to the current establishment or aware of the ongoing war. By the end of the series, the Dai Li has been deposed, and the Earth King restored to his rightful throne. The Batmen are gone, but we still haven't really questioned anything that was systemically wrong. Specifically, what was wrong before the secret police took power. Why, in the first place, was there such a system of governments that allowed such a weak-willed man, one who never set foot outside of his palace, much less outside of the capital city, to rule simply on the grounds of being some guy's son? I was going to have a segment here where the Bloodbender lady was being portrayed, about the Bloodbender lady being portrayed as bad here and how that's unjust, but then I remember she was a civilian, so yeah, I guess she was. Okay, so some might feel it's unfair to judge Avatar so harshly, especially considering it's a show for literal 8-year-olds. I have no real counter to this, which is why we'll be moving on.
Earth, fire, air, water. Only the Avatar can master all 4 elements and bring balance to the world.
Legend of Korra. Welcome to Republic City. We've got skyscrapers, we've got ethnic diversity, we've got the statue of Aang, we've got a settler colonial state built on stolen Earth Kingdom land. We've got totally not New York City, guys, I swear to God. Okay, so Korra, as stated previously, sees itself as a more adult version of Avatar. One way it does this is by trying to tackle complex themes. Now I present to you the Equalists. These are people who see bending and benders as oppressive. They claim benders are using their power to keep non-benders down. Watching Season 1, you will quickly pick up that the Equalist movement is analogous to communist, socialist movements, and bending is analogous to wealth. The problem is that bending is a terrible analogy for wealth, but we can get to that later. For now, I'd like to discuss the oppression of non-benders in Republic City. Or rather, the lack thereof. You see the Equalist movement gaining traction. Prior to the Equalist movement gaining traction, we see no significant setbacks or roadblocks to non-benders in the RC. In fact, we see non-bender capitalists, engineers, and immediately after the movement dissolved, we see a non-bender president elected, almost as if there was no social hatred or economic barriers in these people's way immediately prior to the movement. The shortcoming of the writers reminds me of a concept outlined by another YouTuber, Joseph Anderson, on Fallout 4. Without getting too deep into it, I'll just tell you directly how it relates. Essentially, when the creators haven't been shown to be the utmost competency, one has to wonder if something is intentionally missing from the work, or if it's an error. Is the lack of any real oppression against non-benders in Korra an intentional slight by the writers on leftist movements, trying to say that the upper classes aren't really oppressing the lower class? Or is the latter is just jealous? Or are the writers just idiots? For reasons we'll get to, I'll assume the former. Yes, I know, I already said we'll get to another thing later. And later is now. Bending is a garbage metaphor for wealth, for one simple reason. Bending cannot be redistributed. It is an innate quality to a person. It can't be divided up, and once it's taken, it vanishes. This is reminiscent of Cuban emigres saying they took my farm in relation to socialists taking power. They only view the taking, not where it is redistributed and continue to be used, potentially more productive manners. Except this line of thinking makes some sense if you don't consider wealth to be something that can be redistributed. But we don't have time for that can of worms. As I said previously, later is now, so let's open up another can of worms. The lack of bender oppression is there because the equalists are never really taken seriously for their merits. They're mostly faceless, nameless goons, and a masked mystery man villain. We continue to see this in Amon, the leader of the equalists, is revealed to the world to be a bender. Everyone suddenly hates him now. The movement dissolves and nothing more is spoken of it. Almost as if this was all about a personal vendetta against benders and not a movement to end systemic oppression. This all only makes sense if you think of socialists have a personal bigotry against rich people. As well, this all connects to theories of socialist leaders being secretly rich, because capitalists think communism is bad because they will do what the capitalists do. There's much more to talk about, but we have no time, so let's move on to the next Season 2, Water Tribe. Here we'll be bringing up some interesting comparisons. In Season 2, the spirit world and physical world have been severed due to industrialization, and the North Water Tribe seeks to unite the water peoples and take over the South Water Tribe. Varric, a capitalist, seeks to profit from this war and sell arms to both sides. He does terrorism, corruption, war profiteering, many of the same things Amon does. He even attacks the pro-bending arena, but they're treated very differently. We see Amon die on screen, but we see Varric getting to escape from his prison consequence-free, and no one cares about the terrorism. Capitalism gets almost entirely uncriticized. We focus on bad individuals and never think of the root cause of what allowed them to rise to power. Even the underground shanty towns of Republic City are never questioned, for God's sake. This is not to mention Republic City is a former colony, a very idealized one too, created by the Fire Nation on aforementioned stolen Earth Kingdom land. When the region goes independent, there's no bigotry, no suppression, no resentment from either party. This is very interesting, considering the parallels to the United States. It took only 2 generations for a 100-year war to escape everyone's memory. Anyway, Season 2 brings in heavy Christianization of the once East Asian-inspired setting. One could even say they colonized the setting. Raava and Vaatu, at first glance, seem to be yin and yang. However, shallow, absolute good and evil is antithetical to East Asian religions, such as Taoism, where yin and yang come from. It's far more analogous to the objective good and evil God and Satan, where which is very interesting considering that the Avatar, a divine being on Earth, sponsored by Objective Good, is sent there to destroy Objective Evil and restore balance. Balance equals good in this case. And the balance is neoliberal capitalism and all of its flaws, I guess. She puts out movements to uplift the oppressed, or who would have been oppressed if the writers actually bothered to portray that. You see, the audience. Okay. So you see, the audience can be made to excuse many things on the ground that a character is good. This can lead to very circular logic, especially in real life. People can be made to really not even have cognitive dissonance if they believe that something is good. See Hillary Clinton's quote.
America is great because America is good.
Returning closer to the text, Korra then unites the two worlds, spirit and physical. Once again, no systemic change. Industrialization is not scaled back. People do not become more in tune with spirituality. The status quo is unchallenged. Legend of Korra does not suggest a more balanced approach to anything. Economics, industrialization, nature, you name it. Nope. It really just says that the status quo is good, though imperfect, but you don't dare question why those imperfections are there. We won't be covering seasons 3 or 4 because I don't care. However, it is interesting that the inequality we see in the Absolute Monarchy Earth Kingdom, that's still in the Absolute Monarchy by the time of Korra, it's very interesting that in the inequality of the Earth Kingdom and the inequality of the democratic United Republic are portrayed very differently. The Earth Kingdom is seen as evil for having such inequality and for drafting their benders into the army. The show's writers seem to forget that the United Republic's IRL equivalent had a draft too. The slums of the UR aren't made to be a focal point. They're portrayed as not that bad, or at least an acceptable price to pay for the freedom of Republic City. The authors become blind to such problems under liberal democracy that they're very much seen under monarchy. That will be all for today. Thank you for watching.